Everything was going entirely according to plan. Then, one variable I genuinely did not anticipate went wrong. My entire corporate housing pipeline hit an unexpected bureaucratic freeze. An account suspension landed on us on a Friday afternoon, with zero warning and zero explanation. This is the story of the one compliance ambush that almost liquidated my business. When you build your income on a foundation with a single point of failure, you're just waiting for a difficult reality check. Today I'm pulling back the curtain on an unvarnished loss. I want to show you the reality of handling a real estate curveball. I'm taking you inside the exact moment the platform notifications went dark, and that's when the panic started to set in. If you operate without redundancy across multiple channels, you stand to lose years of wealth-building momentum overnight. You face total operational paralysis the moment you've trusted a single middleman with your entire cash flow. To protect your downside, today we're dissecting the exact gap in our original setup, walking through the specific redundancy build I used to re-engineer our cash flow, and showing you how the contract itself ended up saving us. Let's look at the timeline. Let's trace exactly how this crisis manifested. It was week 6 of our corporate leasing framework. All 3 properties were fully occupied by institutional relocation clients, and the automated payments had been clearing beautifully. Then, on a Friday afternoon at 4:30 p.m., an email landed in my corporate inbox. It came from the legal compliance division of our primary insurance procurement clearinghouse. Due to a sudden retroactive change in the municipality's zoning definitions for intermediate stays, the clearinghouse placed an immediate administrative freeze on my entire vendor account. Just like that, our momentum ground to a screaming halt. Because all 3 of my assets were synced to this single clearinghouse pipeline, my cash flow was instantly locked up. Picture a progress bar frozen at 99% for weeks. No error message, no estimated timeline. Just silence while your bills keep arriving on schedule. The families were still physically living in the properties. That meant I couldn't simply evict them without violating our corporate contract. But the institutional payouts were frozen in administrative limbo. I was completely stuck because of an unpredicted bureaucratic hold, and I was exposed precisely because I'd built a single point of failure into my corporate routing network. This brings us to the financial bleed. Account suspensions freeze your capital, but the real damage doesn't hit until you calculate the compounding cost of maintaining operations while receiving zero inflow. Let's face the cold, hard numbers. My baseline fixed operational costs across the 3 properties totaled $7,125 every single month. Mortgages, property taxes, structural insurance, and basic utility packages. With my clearinghouse payouts frozen, I had to fund that entire $7,125 out of my own pocket, just to protect my underlying debt and prevent a bank foreclosure. Within 30 days, I was down over $7,000 in raw liquidity, with no definitive timeline for a resolution from the compliance system. That's exactly when the psychological pressure starts to build. I pulled from a cash reserve I'd set aside for a completely different acquisition, and I delayed a planned renovation on a 4th property just to keep enough of a buffer in the bank. None of that shows up in a highlight reel, but it's the actual mechanics of surviving a freeze like this. This brings us to the mental side of the crisis. I entered a real state of analysis paralysis. I sat at my desk at 2 a.m. looking at my old, deactivated Airbnb listings. I knew one thing. If I flipped the switch back to the vacation platforms, I could bypass the corporate audit entirely and secure instant retail cash flow within 24 hours to cover the mortgage gap. I was genuinely tempted to return to the short-term rental model. I just wanted to escape the immediate pain of the freeze. The pull to run back to an old, familiar model is a completely normal reaction when things get difficult. But reacting out of panic instead of judgment almost always compounds the actual problem. What actually got me through that week was ridiculously simple. I wrote down the real numbers on a piece of paper. What I'd gain by reverting to Airbnb, and what I'd permanently lose in vendor trust and future placements if I did. Seeing it in writing, instead of just spinning in my head, was what stopped me from making the panic decision. Before I show you the calculation that kept me from sabotaging my own long-term strategy, you need to see how I actually forced myself to slow down during that storm. Let's be transparent about failure. Failure's genuinely useful information. It just doesn't feel that way while you're living through it. A crisis is difficult, and it causes real stress. But it's also exactly where a business either proves it was built to last or proves it wasn't. If you panic and make short-term emotional decisions, you guarantee the worst outcome. I force myself to slow down, look at the actual facts of the problem instead of the fear around it, and run a calculated next step instead of a reactive one. You have to look at your own roadblocks and ask yourself directly, am I going to fold the moment a plan hits resistance? Or am I going to put rules in place that make this kind of shock survivable next time? Once I cleared the panic out of my head, I realized going back to Airbnb was a short-term illusion that violated everything I was actually trying to build. I had to face the clearinghouse crisis directly and build real redundancy into how this business operates. Overcoming that kind of paralysis takes actual rules, not willpower. In a moment, I'm going to walk you through the exact structural changes I made. They forced the clearinghouse to lift the freeze, and they made sure this specific crisis could never happen to me again. This is the turning point. 3 systemic fixes. I gave myself a strict 72-hour deadline to resolve the immediate bottleneck, and a longer-term plan to protect the whole portfolio from ever facing this exact exposure again. Here's exactly what I built, in the order I built it. The first fix, I stopped waiting on the primary insurance clearinghouse to finish their internal audit and immediately began building redundancy across multiple channels instead. I hired a compliance attorney to map our property structures cleanly against the new zoning definitions and put together a proper compliance packet. I established active vendor profiles across 4 alternative competing relocation networks, including CHPA, ALE Solutions, and National Corporate Housing. By spreading my pipeline across multiple clearinghouses, I eliminated the exact platform dependency that almost took my business down. If one clearinghouse freezes tomorrow, the other 3 channels stay open and operational. None of these 3 fixes happened overnight. The attorney relationship and the redundant vendor profiles took about 6 weeks to fully stand up. The escrow language took another negotiation cycle with our template agreement. This was a real project, not a single afternoon of paperwork. The second fix, I negotiated a mandatory 30-day upfront escrow retainer into every future corporate agreement. Before a corporate client places anyone into my properties, their procurement office deposits a full month of rent into an escrow account held by my bank. If an administrative freeze happens on their end again, my company has contractually authorized access to pull directly from that escrow buffer. That single clause ensures my mortgages stay covered while any future paperwork gets sorted out. Those 2 fixes protected my capital, but to fully solidify this business, I had to make one final change to how I actually source clients. The third fix, direct corporate procurement invoicing. As long as I was relying entirely on a third-party clearinghouse to process every transaction, I remained exposed to their policy changes, not just their compliance timelines. So I went out and built direct relationships. I connected with the internal mobility and human resources departments at major hospitals and companies in our metro area, and cut the clearinghouse middleman out of 40% of our pipeline entirely. It took a lot of cold outreach and a handful of rejected emails before the first one said yes. Now, when a traveling medical professional or a corporate director needs placement, my company invoices their accounts payable department directly through standard enterprise accounting software. The funds move straight from their bank to ours through a normal wire transfer. No third-party approvals, no platform commissions, and no exposure to another company's internal policy decisions. We turned a genuinely brutal financial loss into the single most secure, diversified pipeline in the entire business. And it cost a fraction of what that first month of frozen payouts cost me to build. A crisis like this isn't fun to go through, but it's an incredibly efficient way to find every hidden weak point in how your business is actually built. If I'd panicked and rushed back to the volatile short-term rental model the second my payouts froze, I'd have stayed trapped on that treadmill permanently. By slowing down, looking at the failure honestly, and building real redundancy, everything changed. Multiple clearinghouse profiles, upfront escrow retainers, and direct corporate invoicing turned a fragile setup into something genuinely resilient. You go from an anxious operator hoping nothing breaks to someone whose business survives when something inevitably does. If you're ready to stop building fragile systems and want to learn the exact frameworks that protect your downside under real pressure, make sure you're fully subscribed to this channel right now. The compliance crisis is fully behind me, and the redundancy I've built has made this business genuinely resilient. But during the middle of that entire ordeal, I stumbled onto something almost by accident, a specific move I haven't seen a single other operator talk about. This accidental discovery ended up changing the entire trajectory of the whole business. It cut the amount of active time I spend tracking this portfolio down to practically nothing every week, and I found it purely by accident while trying to solve a completely different problem. In our very next episode, I'm laying out the exact step-by-step blueprint of this bonus play, the precise cost to implement it, the actual returns, and exactly who this will work for and who it won't. The full breakdown is waiting for you inside episode 9 right now. The playlist is live. Click the next video, take immediate action, and let's pull the levers on it together.